You are now listening to the Youth Fusion Radio Hour.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Youth Fusion Radio Hour, brought to you by our lovely coordinators, Marie, Brittany, Annie, Gabby, Natalie, and myself, Sophie. Wow, that's definitely a lot of E's there. Our parents were very imaginative as per our names endings.
Well, my real name is Anne, so I can go by that if we need to switch things up.
Okay, yeah, please do. Just kidding, Annie. I love your name.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, keep it as Annie.
Thanks, guys.
Anyways, okay, so we are recording today's podcast on a Wednesday, and on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Many of you guys might know that line from one of the most popular pop culture movies, Mean Girls. But this line actually, though in the movie it is seen more as like a line said by bullies, well, now we associate wearing pink on Wednesdays more so as a way to support anti-bullying. So, and that is today's topic, I guess you could say. We will be talking about bullying, but we are starting with Pink Shirt Day. It's a worldwide day that people wear pink. So depending on maybe the school you went to or are attending, Pink Shirt Day is officially on the last Wednesday of February, but actually the school I worked at in Nanamasakamick Center for Education, Pink Shirt Day was every Wednesday. So it started actually, I believe here in Canada, when a young boy was being bullied for wearing a pink shirt. And lovely enough, a fellow classmate organized a school-wide Pink Shirt Day. So from then on, the boys' bullies were never heard of again, and it kind of became now an organization. So it is a day to raise awareness about bullying, and according to the Pink Shirt Day official website, 1 in 5 kids are affected by bullying. So that's 1.2 of us podcast hosts when we think of the 6 of us, which is a lot of people. So if you guys want to learn more about it, go onto Pink Shirt Day's website. And yeah, what about you guys, fellow podcast readers? Did you guys have Pink Shirt Days at your schools?
I was looking at the Pink Shirt Days that each of the Nunavik schools held this year, and they were all so different from each other. It was awesome. So there's really no one way to hold an anti-bullying activity.
Yeah, I actually put a pink shirt right now. And I remember this year Pink Shirt Day, it was really fun. So speaking of bullying, I think it's fair to assume that we have all witnessed bullying in our lives, or maybe been a victim. And maybe sometimes we're the bully too, and that's okay. Everything can happen. The most important part is how we deal with things and we learn from our mistakes. In any case, don't hesitate to reach out if you don't know how to resolve a situation. To reach out for an adult, avoid for things to escalate if you're fighting with somebody or somebody is hurting you. And adults can help you sort out the situation and your feelings. And I think since we are talking about bullying, it's important to explain what it is also, because sometimes we forget. Bullying is unwanted and aggressive behaviors that happens over time. So meaning it's something that happens often, it happens repeatedly, and it involves an imbalance of power. So the bully uses his or her strengths, which is either verbal, the way he talks, or physical, to control or harm others. So there is different sort of bullying: verbal bullying, which is name calling or teasing; physical bullying, which is hitting, pushing, shoving, all that stuff; and social bullying. So for example, when you decide to embarrass somebody in public, or even when you spread rumors about somebody, that's actually bullying, guys.
And there's also, I think it's important to include, I'm not sure if they're included in the 3 definitions or the 3 different types of bullying you said, but we also have, of course, cyberbullying, which doesn't really happen maybe to your face, but it could happen on your account. If you guys have Facebook, be wary of people who are cyberbullying. That means just also like teasing people or being rude to people online.
Yeah, just so you know, if you're thinking about making fun of your friends in the end, like in your PMs or whatever, even though if there is no adult around, like it doesn't mean that there won't be any repercussions. It's not because it's like your phone that people won't know. So exactly, cyberbullying is usually like linked to social bullying. Thank you, Natalie, for explaining that. So just to remember, bullying is not okay, and you are not cool. It's not because everybody's laughing that you are cool. You're not. No, no, no. No one deserves to be bullied, okay? It can really hurt people's feeling. Usually, when you've been bullying in school, sometimes you can carry the pain through school and then into your adult life, okay? Especially if you don't have the chance to get help. So I personally remember when I was in high school, people would make fun of me because I was tall and a bit skinny, and they would call me names, and it would make me sad. So what did I do? I started calling other kids' names in order to take revenge, okay? And well, guess what? It doesn't even make you feel better. I was still sad, and the other kids were sad too. So like I said, if that happens, if you see bullying, just remember to talk to an adult.
I think that's such a good point, because it really shows how bullying is like kind of like a cycle. Like whenever I was bullied in primary school, and there were many examples, but one that really stuck out to me was when somebody called me out for picking my nose in public. Not my proudest moment, but what can I say? It happens. So my mom would always remind me that the bully was probably feeling scared or hurt or lonely themselves as well. Like people always have a reason for acting out, and it's usually because they don't feel like they have power in their own lives or control. Like maybe they didn't feel safe or loved at home, and so they were taking it out on other people to try and feel better. And like that was really helpful for me, just so that I could have empathy for them and understand that like they're also dealing with things, and definitely they're not sort of, I didn't appreciate being picked on because of what they were dealing with, but it helped me to be like, okay, this isn't about me. It's not personal. They just like, they need an outlet and they need to take it out on somebody.
My parents told me the exact same thing, Sophie, because when I was in school, I was bullied for being overweight, and I had kids call me names, and I thought no one liked me because of how I looked, and it made me sad for the longest time. And it was something that my mom just kept saying over and over to myself. Anyways, I never retaliated, but because of that, I definitely did not have the courage to stick up for other kids, because it made me mad and hurt that nobody ever stood up for me. Bullying is never okay, and it's why we wear pink and we have week-long programs such as Love is Louder, which is an international anti-bullying campaign that maybe you guys might have seen at your school, because it empowers you guys to share messages of love and support. It's important that we create awareness so that youth know that bullying is not okay, and that if you see somebody being bullied, that you have the power to do something about it.
Yeah, and what Brittany is just saying leads kind of to our next point, that there aren't just the two roles when it comes to bullying. Like you do have the bully, the victim, but you also have the bystander. So the bystander is the person who just stands there and watches the action of bullying taking place. And again, it could be in person or online or behind someone's back. Being a bystander is not always so obvious. I myself, when I was a kid, I didn't know I was being a bystander, and probably many kids the same. But as an adult now, I know. So as a young kid, I was aware that people were being bullied, but I didn't know that I was just letting it happen, that I should have maybe intervened. So like when you hear kids calling other kids names, or even kids like pushing another kid around, I just kind of kept on going with my day. Now I know I should have definitely helped, maybe taking the child or my friend or whoever it was that was being bothered, and kind of take them to a situation where they won't be bullied, and just instead like shower them with kindness. Maybe some of us were also bystanders, I bet a fair share of people have been, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been there. That's a really good point.
Totally.
Yeah, I can definitely think of times when I should have stepped up or stood up for someone and I didn't, and I'm not proud of those times. It can also be really scary to move out of that bystander role, especially when you're in school, because it seems like fitting in and not rocking the boat too much are like the most important thing at the time. So yeah, it can be really scary for everyone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. Like I said before, I didn't stand up, and if I wish I could go back and tell myself that I should have done more and rocked the boat.
That's a very good point. I want to emphasize that sometimes it's scary, like you guys said, it's scary to rock the boat. But you're not alone. You can always reach out for other people to help you, and especially adults. It could be your parents that can support you through this. It could be your teacher. It could be your youth fusion coordinator, your big brother, your big sister. Just reach out for adults if you're being a victim of bullying, if you are a bystander, or even if you're bullying somebody, because if you reach out, well, maybe you can find the help you need. So,
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, it also, I think as a kid, I often imagined sort of standing up for people or like moving out of that bystander role to be this really big dramatic deal. Like, oh, this is gonna be huge. Like, some people are gonna hate me. But it can also be small and like quiet and just like checking in with the person who's being bullied, or like doing like reaching out to them in any way that you can to just help them feel like they're not, like they're seen, like their situation is seen, and also like they're not invisible or like going through this thing alone.
Ooh, that's really good advice, Sophie. I wish I had that when I was in school.
For this episode, our host Gabby had the chance to interview Miss USG, Andrea McLeod. Following is a little preview from that interview. If you're interested to hear the whole thing, don't hesitate to log into our SoundCloud and you can find the full episode. Andrea is going to talk about bullying too, so just listen to it. It's super interesting. And like I said, a little teaser right now.
Yeah, I think you talk a lot about perseverance. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
perseverance.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
mentioned different difficulties that youth faces in school, like anxiety or mental health issues. And I think one
Yeah.
of the difficulties that we witness a lot is bullying.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main subjects also from our podcast this week. So I was wondering if you have experienced bullying yourself while you were in high school.
Yes, I did, especially in elementary. I still remember a lot of it, like in high school and elementary, of what I went through. That's what I really talk about, because see, that's the thing. I got bullied the way I looked and how I was, because I really didn't grow up in the EUHG gap, like in the Cree Nation.
Okay.
I kind of moved around like as a kid from Timmins and Sudbury, and like I wasn't really like born and raised in Muskogee. Well,
Okay.
yeah. So I was always looked at that as like a mushtuk and how I was as a person.
Well, thanks, Gabby, for that awesome interview of Andrea. If you're interested in listening to the whole interview, just connect to our SoundCloud and you can find it there.
You are listening to the Youth Fusion Radio Hour.
moving on to our midway game to spice up the podcast. Woohoo! So today's midway game is a host trivia, just to see if we know each other well. So I'll ask a question and then I'll give you some time to think. All right, here we go. First question. Which host has seen a flying squirrel in the wild, but it was taking a nap? Who cannot make a cartwheel? Whose parents were born in Poland? Who shouldn't you bring to La Ronde? Who's a real nerd about learning? All right, that's a hard one. Are lake sharks real or not? Who just love pizza? Who's practicing jiu-jitsu? Who could just take one nap a day? Who was lucky enough to live in Mexico? Who just adores eggplants? For our final question, who used to work in Miss Disney? Whoa, that was fun. So I hope you could answer all the questions, because if not, that would make us very sad. No pressure. So guys, for today's episode, since we were talking about bullying, we wanted to talk about the movie Wonder. So I don't know if you guys watch it. It follows Augie's life. He's a 10 years old boy who has a rare medical facial deformity. It's called the Treacher-Collins syndrome. And when he was born, he had to undergo at least 27 surgeries in order to see, smell, speak, and hear without aids. So when we meet Augie, he's about to go to middle school because his parents think it's time for him to stop being homeschooled. At the beginnings, Augie is having a really hard time in school because his classmates are teasing him, making fun of him. They're making fun about the fact that he just loves Star Wars, really uncool classmate. Anyway, time passes, and then Summer, she's a sweet girl from his class, and she decides to take a stand because she can't stand the fact that everybody's so mean to Augie. Anyway, I don't want to spoil the whole movie, but I think the moment when she leaves her lunch table to go sit with Augie was very important to me during the movie. I think it's a more important moment even than when the two boys, like two classmates, are fighting for like Augie, like one of them is defending Augie. That was like, fighting is not a good like way to end bullying. Anyway, not very important. That's just my take. So that was like when I think everything changed for Augie, when Summer decided to not be a bystander anymore. Just how Natalie mentioned it before. She showed kindness. Right? She sat with Augie, they became very friends, and then everybody just realized that Augie is a sweet boy and maybe they should be friends with him. So again, don't want to spoil the movie, but I just did. For me,
There's a lot more to the movie.
For me, that was a real turning point in the movie.
But yeah, what Marie kind of described with Summer's actions sounds like the anti-bullying hashtag that the movie uses when they were like marketing the movie, and even now. So they use the hashtag Choose Kind. So this hashtag Choose Kind has led to the Choose Kind campaign, which tries to spread the message of positive social change by encouraging people, especially youth, to practice acts of kindness. So the challenge is meant to motivate students to routinely show kindness, acceptance, and respect for their peers. This, actually, interesting enough, I found online, has led to certified kind classrooms where teachers and students work together to perform kind acts, and then they kind of submit these acts to the website, and then they become certified. This is actually happening around the world, and there is even one in Nova Scotia, so a certified kind classroom. Very cool.
Nova Scotia has it going on.
I know, I feel like we talk about Nova Scotia in every podcast.
I love it though. Like, I'm so Nova Scotian proud. Anyways, I watched this movie just for the topic of this podcast. I put it as research. It was quite the movie though. My personal favorite quote from the movie was, "You can't blend in when you were born to stand out." I just think it was so powerful that we need to celebrate and support each other's uniqueness. I really liked Augie's story, but also his sister's story has caused a tear or two when I was watching the movie. I think it's because this movie is illustrated in so many different perspectives that it makes it relatable to a bigger audience. Personally, I really related to Via's story of having to make everything perfect and not rock the boat, because of her brother. At the same time, she was losing her best friend. This story is a very familiar one to my own high school experience. What do you guys think? Was there a character that you guys related to in the movie?
I think something that's really beautiful about this movie is that it shows so many different perspectives of a bullying scenario. Like in my experience, I remember sometimes being a bystander and also sometimes being more of a target. And I've also had family members who've gone through bullying and I've needed to be more supportive. So I think that this movie really shows a variety of perspectives, and that's something that you mentioned, Brittany, and there, you can relate to lots of those scenarios.
Yeah, Annie, I totally agree. I think it does a really good job at like opening a space for people who have maybe sort of moved on from contexts where bullying is more intense, for us all to like think about all the complicated dynamics that are involved in bullying and like all the ways that we can support each other and care for each other as people we know move through that. And that's pretty cool to like invite thousands and thousands of people to consider it through a story like this. It's nice. It's nice.
Actually, kind of relating to Brittany's question about like characters you might relate to, even if you don't relate to any of them, or maybe if you feel like you relate to maybe the bully, so the character's name was Julian, could read, there's a second novel that was written by the author. So going backwards, Wonder is based off of a children's book by the same name by R.J. Palaccio. I believe that's how I pronounce her last name. Anyways, so the author created then a second book called Augie and Me. In that book divides the story into different perspectives. So one of them is actually the bully, like I said. So if you are in that kind of situation where you're like, oh, wow, I kind of may relate to the bully in this movie, you could read further into it in this second book called Augie and Me. And again, there's like ways to, don't feel afraid to like connect with someone if you feel like you're the one that's being, or you're bullying someone and you don't know why or how to stop yourself or etc. Are resources out there for you, and I like there are resources out for those who are being bullied.
So, guys, like we said, bullying is serious, but I can't stress enough that it's not okay. So if you or someone you know is being bullied, please tell an adult, or you can contact these hotlines, 877-352-4497. That is BullyingCanada.ca, or you can call 1-800-668-6868, which is the Kids Help phone. These numbers will be posted in the description of this podcast if you want to go back and click on them.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. Yeah, it's super important to remember, you guys, you're not alone. There are people here to support you, and it's important to reach out. There are also some great resources out there for Indigenous youth. I found this program called Not in My School, Not in My Res that brings together students from Indigenous communities and urban schools. And what I thought was really cool about the program is that it gives students the opportunity to learn from each other and then to choose the best plan of action for their own schools and communities. And I think that's really the key. A lot of awesome anti-bullying initiatives have been started by youth themselves, like anti-bullying groups set up by students in their own schools. Indigenous youth have also been able to draw on their culture and Indigenous heritage as a strength. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that adults in schools can definitely be helpful, but youth also have a lot of power to change the culture around bullying.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Annie. That was very well said. Anyway, guys, thank you so much to our listeners out there. It's been another great podcast. I hope you keep tuned for the next episode of Youth Fusion Radio Hour. We are really sorry to see some of our folks from our team go, but I'm happy that they got to take part in this podcast journey with us.
It's been so much fun working on this project with you guys. For listeners out there, this is Annie, and I'm officially saying bye. Be safe.
Annie, that made me sad. Yeah, thanks for having me on board, you guys. We had some fun chats. Bye, everyone.
If you have an idea for what we should talk about next, let us know. Subscribe to our channel, and you can follow us at Youth Fusion Indigenous youth community. We'd like to thank Youth Fusion and all of our listeners out there. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Annie and Sophie. We'll miss you.